Welcome to Pizza Quest. I'm Peter Reinhardt, and I'm here today with Kyle Ahlgren, the branding and digital marketing manager for Central Milling and a partner and co-creator with Central Milling of the Artisan Baking Center online video classes. Welcome back, Kyle. It's been a while.
Hey, Peter. Yeah, it has been.
The last time you were here, which was about a year and a half ago, you had just released the video series you produced and directed featuring me, based on, I guess it was based on the release of this book, of my book, Pizza Quest, my
It is.
never-ending search for the perfect pizza. And a lot's happened since then, so let's catch up a bit.
Yeah.
First, for the benefit of those who missed that earlier episode, what is ABC Online and what's the latest news? And while we're at it, and before you leave today, do you have any special deals coming for those who want to give it a try?
Yeah. All the above. Definitely have some exciting things happening with ABC Online. So ABC is, and we do have some little offers and deals that I want to plug at the end of the conversation here. But yeah, if anybody doesn't know yet, Artisan Baking Center is what ABC stands for. So it's not the news network.
All right.
If hopefully you're excited about that, being bakers who are watching this. But yeah, ABC started as a central milling project originally. It's kind of the brainchild of Nicky Justo. Some people in here might know who he is, but he's kind of an amazing baker, an old longtime friend of mine, and part of Central Milling's R&D and sales arm. He wanted to create this really amazing baking R&D facility so that they could, help their customers throughout the country create new formulas and test new formulas, and also have people in there for in-person trainings. And so they did in-person classes and have some really great classes up there. The facility is up in Petaluma, which is just north of San Francisco Bay Area. And you've
I've
been there,
been there.
obviously.
Yeah, I've been there a number
Yeah.
of times teaching classes, and it was while I was there teaching a pizza class right after this book came out that you came up with the idea of let's film the whole, a class, a series of instructional lessons
Mhm.
for viewers, and so you set up right the day before we actually did the class live for the public. We filmed this series.
Yeah. Yeah. So what happened was obviously, COVID changed a lot of things and that whole facility got shut down. There was no in-person classes. And that was a bummer, obviously, for various reasons. But it kind of spurred me on to have the idea that I pitched to Nikki and Central Milling, like, hey, why don't we take this thing online? The in-person classes are amazing. You get the benefit of being hands-on, poking the dough and talking to the bakers one-on-one. But people who live in, Texas or Connecticut or wherever, it's like it's a long trek over to Petaluma, and so we came up with the idea and came up with a format for being able to provide online classes or asynchronous. It's not like a Zoom class. It's just this thing that once you buy the class, it's yours. You can watch it as many times as you want. You can, scroll back over the content, see exactly just how, Peter balls up the dough, and you've got some
And
formulas and
yeah, it comes with downloadable recipes and formulas, and yeah.
yeah, so it's been cool because it's like we put the effort into producing the class and working with the bakers. We got some really great bakers on there. There's artisan breads, there's pizza, there's pastry chefs. So we got you, of course. We've got Tony Gemignani, we've got Nicky Justo, Craig Ponsford, who's famous for his baguettes and lots of artisan breads, and Nicole Plu, who does some amazing pastry. She's actually the person that's running the in-person classes there currently.
Oh.
So we've got these great bakers, and it's really geared towards home bakers and sort of baking enthusiasts, I guess, who are ready to kind of take their skills to the next level and want like a single curated place to do that. Because you can go and get all kinds of information about all kinds of things and online and YouTube, obviously tons of free content. But when you get overwhelmed by it all, I'm like, where do I go? And I just want like the one class that like I know is going to be good and is vetted and has like a Nikki Justo professional baker that like is making sure that the content is legit and isn't just sort of like, well, we kind of do this and this, and then at the end we have this pretty looking thing you can post on Instagram. It's like, no, no, no. This is like, Peter Reinhardt, man. He knows what's up with breads and pizza, and he teaches this content on a regular basis. So it was kind of that level
It kind
of
of reminds
like,
me of, like, Masterclass, that whole series that people pay a lot of money to take, with various culinary professionals and, celebrity chefs and all.
yeah,
And
exactly.
also, maybe a Craftsy, for people who are familiar with the Craftsy series of, videos, classes on just about anything having to do with, uh, the makers community, but
Yeah.
yours is really focused on baking and, bread and pizza were like sort of the keys, but now you're sounds like you're branching into other like with pastries, other aspects of baking as well.
Yeah, yeah, pastry and pasta. I mean, we're not a massive operation, so it's not like we don't have the level of classes that like Craftsy or something would have, but we are slowly trying to chip away, adding new classes, things that like our particular audience really is interested in, which has tended to be like, pizza because everybody loves pizza. So we've got a few pizza classes now. Um, and then and artisan breads and anything that has to do with kind of more advanced techniques, sourdough shaping techniques, interesting grains. It's kind of not like the basic. We do have a basic kind of beginner sourdough 101, which has been a really great class for people that are looking to get into sourdough bread making, but we're looking to do more artisan bread classes. But yeah, pizza classes. So we've got your class, which we took the inspiration from your book that has all these yeah, amazing famous pizzas made by innovative pizza makers around the US, right? And you kind of were doing this nod to each one and telling their story and then also giving an example of kind of one of their classic pizzas. Um
I've got I think, some of the ones we did, pistachio pesto pizza, which came from
Yes.
a well-known pizzeria near where I live in Charlotte. We also had this is, here's a photo of, the bacon ranch chicken pizza
Yeah.
that, that
Detroit style.
yeah, Detroit style, and it's a beautiful photo. All the photos were for the book were sent to us by the actual creators of the original version that I then did home versions of, and then what you captured, Kyle, was an actual class, not just not just the written instructions, but a demonstration class for how to create those various doughs, sauces, and toppings.
Yeah, yeah, your class still continues to be probably the most popular class. I think it's the most well-rounded.
Fantastic.
It's just, you you know how to teach as you since you're
Right.
teachers.
Every once in a while, I get one of these in the mail from you.
Oh, hey, look at that.
A royalty check.
Yeah, a little roll.
We like it when people buy it, but and speaking of which, buying it is not that expensive. I mean, I think it's a pretty good deal, and later on, we'll talk about maybe some promotional deals you got coming up, but,
Yeah.
it's a really affordable concept, and, I really appreciate you having captured that, in
Yeah.
this particular instance, but also, I've watched some of the other classes, and, Tony Gemignani, the rock star of all the pizza guys in the world is, he's got a series with you. What's his series about?
Yeah, so his, he kinda did a different take. Yours is like 4 different doughs, 4 different pizzas, sauces, like, is kinda like more variety, I guess. Like, his is, he has an interesting take because 'cause he's got his own flour that Central Milling also is proprietary flour blend
That's right,
that we make for him, and, that's available on for sale on our
course,
website
Central
also.
Yelling is, of course, one of our favorite flour producers,
Yeah.
and has been a big, longtime supporter of Pizza Quest. Nikki's been on Pizza Quest a number of times, and yeah, I forgot that Central Milling actually makes the flour for Tony Gemignani's pizza empire.
Yes, exactly. So he kinda takes this one universal dough formula, which is just it's interesting. It's kind of a more almost more simplified in a way, but, he's the master, and so he's kinda come up with this way to really do things as streamlined as possible. Universal dough, universal sauce that you can modify for this one pizza, but he made 3 different pizzas out of it, and it was amazing the diversity of those pizzas. um, and a fried calzone, and then he does this little pizza tossing demonstration, which is really fun, and that's one of
Oh,
my favorite moments is when he
that's
was
gotta
tossing
be
pizzas,
yeah, that's
he
gotta be a
whacked the
highlight.
pizza at the camera guy, and it was just it's just a funny part, and yeah, we actually got one of the camera guys in there to try to toss the pizzas and to show how hard it is, because Tony doesn't, like, make it seem so easy, right? And then, uh
He tried to teach me how to do it. We have a video of him on Pizza Quest where he's showing me,
yeah,
the basic entry level way to start tossing a dough and how to hold your hands and then what
yeah,
not to do. And yeah, but the learning curve is fast. If you follow his instructions, you can get better and better at it pretty quickly. Here's a photo of a pizza by Tony himself that's in the Pizza Quest book. This is baked in a cast iron pan, so that's another way. I don't know if he did that on the video, but this is a tomato. Let's see, what did he call this? This is a tomato, and this is sort of a styled photo. So I think it goes in the oven looking like this, but it's called a cast iron tomato and mint pizza. And this is a pizza
wow.
they've got. He created it. I don't think it's served at the restaurants. It was something he created for a special event and he allowed us to put it in the Pizza Quest book.
Yeah. Yeah, he did New York style, kind of a classic pepperoni, but it was just amazing how good he has this whole concept of like the make and the finish line, and like I think a lot of the time I feel like with these classes, honestly, it's not always the specific, it's more of the general concept that the students come away with. I mean, I've learned so much about baking because I'm sitting here working with
Right.
you guys to make these classes, and I'm asking you questions that are like sort of a dummy at home. I don't understand, explain it to me better type of questions, right? Because I'm actually interested in this kind of stuff too, and I like to bake and I like to make pizza and all that. And so I think for me, sometimes it's the general concept that you take away that's like more important than like this is exactly how you make this pizza. But one of those examples of this make and finish line kind of thing that Tony brings up and talks about how he half of his ingredients or so, like a lot of them more than you'd think, are after the pizza's baked, right? So that's the finish. And so he does all these little finishing things. Maybe that's where you add the arugula or you add the extra parm and the oregano and or the chili oil sauce. And
Yeah.
you don't think about that because you normally think, okay, you put everything on the pizza and you stick it in the oven. But sometimes it's really important to separate those things because the way that those ingredients will change when they're baked or in sometimes in a bad way, or maybe you want to have those flavors be bright, or you want that freshness for that particular ingredient. So anyways, he had this whole make and finish line, and the pepperoni pizza, that was one of those ones that was really surprising, like just how good it was. I mean, it's just a pepperoni pizza, but that's one of those things that when it's done right, it's like the best pizza you could ever have.
Well, there's got to be a reason why pepperoni pizzas are the most popular pizzas of them all. Against all sort of intuition, because people don't usually consider pepperoni the king of the salamis, and yet pepperoni pizza wins time and time again as number one. So, and of course and anything Tony makes is going to be spectacular. And does he talk a little bit about sort of the quality of the ingredients and his choices for where he goes to get things, what brands and stuff like that, or is that?
Yeah, yeah, a little bit for sure. Everybody has their that's one of the things I like when we talk through the ingredients. We've always got a section where because for the home bakers, they don't have the luxury of showing up to an in-person class and just having everything right in front of them, right? It's like, okay, it's me at home, like I want to make this pizza, but what do I need? And so we always run through all the ingredients that you're going to need for the doughs and for in the case of pizzas, all the toppings. And so we definitely we love when the bakers will talk about their preference for something and why. I gotta use these tomatoes or this kind of sea salt. And sometimes we're like, yeah, whatever, any water will do or any butter will do or something. But sometimes they've got a really unique take on why. And so yeah, he definitely talked about that. And us being partnered with Central Milling, they always want to talk about the flour and the flour quality and
Right.
what's going on there because that's the where it all starts. It's flour, water, yeast, salt, maybe a little fat of some sort, but especially with pizzas and breads, a lot of times so flour is so key because it's most of what's in your bread,
Right,
or your pizza.
exactly. And
And so,
anybody who has ever been to Pizza Expo, or other pizza events knows Tony Gemignani because you may have even attended some of his, pardon me, attended some of his, workshops there, and he charges like, if you go to Pizza Expo, there's a lot of free content there, but people pay for the special hour with Tony Gemignani, and they pay more for that class than they do for the video series that you created, um,
right.
and because that's how popular he is and how, he really is sort of a living legend now in our midst, and we've watched it happen. We've been charting that here ever since we launched Pizza Quest 15 years ago. Tony, when he first opened Tony's Pizza Napolitana in San Francisco, we were there in the early days, and he gave us a guided tour of the place, and he was showing us the different ovens that he used. And we've watched him. He was already well known, but watched him become, the I would call the goat, of the pizza world right now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you got him on tape. Let's talk about some of the other classes. I think if I'm not mistaken, you've got a bagel class coming up.
Yeah. Well, before we get there, I was actually just going to mention the one other pizza class we have, which was our new one in this last
Oh,
fall. Was cool because so we had yours and Tony's were both, amazing pizza classes, but they're focused on people that, can make pizzas in a home oven because having a pizza oven, obviously like a Forno Bravo or something like that you're a part of, or these
yeah,
big things are, let alone like a Gosney or Uni or something. It's a substantial cost that someone's going to have to, it's a substantial piece of equipment someone has to have. And so we focused those first couple classes on being able to bake in an oven at 500 degrees, and so we really wanted to come out with a pizza oven focused class to talk
oh,
about pizza ovens and how to cook in them and how to maintain them and what the benefits are, and then have some formulas that were kind of formulated for pizza ovens. So we actually partnered with Gosney because Central Milling was actually had just kind of finished helping them with some proprietary flour blends for pizza flours that they're selling on
Is
their site. So they kind
Gosney
of
the
just
same? Is that the same company that produces the Rock Box oven?
yes, the Rock Box is
Okay.
their
So
like
that
entry level kind of portable gas pizza oven. So
so I think of like the Rock Box and the Uni as the Coke and Pepsi of the home,
yeah,
tabletop wood fired oven type, concepts.
right.
So this so
Yeah,
and
so
more people have
Gosney
these
has
ovens now.
what's that?
So many people have these at home now that it makes
Yeah.
sense to have a class, catered to them.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so they provided us, or kind enough to provide us with some ovens that we could use and demonstrate in. And then they also hooked us up with one of their pizza ambassadors named Ines Glazer. She's from she does a pizza catering brand and some pizza touring blogging content stuff. This brand called Lupacata. Anyways, yeah, like we worked with
Where
her
is Inez based? Does she
in LA, in Venice, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
so it's great. So, not quite down the road, but way down the road from you,
Well, yeah,
but it's
close-ish.
easy
So,
to bring up. Yeah, uh-huh.
mhm.
So that's great. So she
Yeah, so
taught
that was really
she came
fun.
up and taught the class.
hmm
D
Yeah, so we've got that one on there too. It's called Mastering the Pizza Oven. And basically, we do a couple different types of pizzas in pizza. We talk a lot about pizza ovens in general and how to use them, like I said, and obviously like firing these pizzas at like 750 to 900 degrees in that zone. So it's a whole different kind of concept and way of baking. We also do a focaccia in there, which is really cool. And so that was really fun. And that class also comes with, for people who are interested in getting a pizza oven that don't have one yet, there's like a little once you take the class, you get a link for a special coupon code if you want to buy a Gosney pizza oven. So anyhow, that obviously it's a whole category of pizza making, and whether you have your own pizza oven already and you're kind of trying to figure things out, or whether it's probably more for people who like don't know about pizza ovens yet, but it's a big difference when you're cooking in there, whether it's
Yeah,
with fire or gas and that high heat, and learning how to kind of turn your pizza and get the right blistering on there, and even just how quick things cook and the kind of different effects you can achieve with the doughs because of that quick rise, a minute or minute and a half of cooking versus
right.
6, 8, 10, 12 minutes.
Well, I
So
think that there are a lot of people sitting on the cusp right now of trying to decide, should I or shouldn't I pull the trigger on buying one of these?
yeah,
Friends are getting them, I'm a little intimidated. Should I do it? So this could be a great bridge for that. And then if they
yeah.
had a discount on top of it, that's great marketing by you and Gosney to make it to give them a deal. People always love a deal.
Totally, and it's like, there's sometimes, like, if you just throwing deals out constantly all the time and just like sale, 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 it can just kinda cheapen the brand and
Yeah,
cheapen the experience, but when you have a really good product and every once in a while there's like a special and you can get that thing for a little bit better price, I mean, that's kind of no one's gonna complain when they're looking to buy like a new EV and then you get a discount on it or something, like, "Oh, sweet, I got this thing I really wanted, this car or something, and it's a little bit cheaper." No one's like, "Well, this piece of crap," you know?
you're right. But how's that series selling? How long has it been out now?
That's been out since the fall. We launched it with, like, kind of our fall, baking season stuff, and so that one's doing okay. It's hard because anything that's a little bit more niche-y, just by in general, you have a less of a wide audience that's gonna be interested in it, and so I think that it's doing well for what it is, just like our einkorn bread class or something like that, or pastry lamination, or some things that are like the people that are into it are so into it, but then it doesn't necessarily appeal. So we have to have a mix of classes like that on a platform, and that's one of those things that you think about as a business owner. And I think it'd be cool to talk about business and starting your own business,
Yeah,
because I think there's a lot of people in your podcast who are these kind of solopreneur, entrepreneurial types, whether they own a pizza shop or they're pizza catering, but one of the things that you have to consider, I think, is what's your audience and what kind of product are you going to offer, whether it's actually pizza in person or whether it's a digital product like this. I mean, you have to know where your audience is, and you have
right.
to determine, do I want to have something that's mass market appeal, like a cheese pizza, right? It's kind of like anybody could like a cheese pizza, sure, but then what about the specialty, the people that are looking for that, like, more, coup de grace, like the amazing artisan sourdough pizza
Yeah,
with the tomatoes and mint and some unique toppings, weird cheese on there, and it's like that's going to speak to a certain type of person, but it's more niche. And so
yeah,
you kind of want to have a mix of both of those things, I think, in terms of like when you have a product offering, is you want to have something that kind of is a mass appeal, it's kind of a general um product, and then you want to have something that's more nichey because you want something for people that are looking for that next layer, next level of experience to be able to
yes.
like kind of hook into and to
And
talk about, like, you know.
And the things you're talking about really are universal to what you're describing for this kind of a business, doing the baking classes is still the same principles apply in any kind of startup business, is you have to know your audience, and
Right.
have the right product for that audience. When I was starting out in business years ago and had my bakery, I met with a consultant and he said, "Just remember something." He said, "The product is only 10% of your business. Marketing is 90% of your business. So you gotta find people that want that product." And so that's part of your challenge is giving them, finding the niche and the folks that want it, and then letting them know that it's there, because there's probably a lot of people that
Yeah.
still don't even know that there's this this Gosney class or even the Tony Gemignani class, or for the people who want to do pastry work,
Yep.
what classes that you've got on pastry. They need to know about it. So how do you get that word out to them?
Yeah, yeah, I know, and it's interesting because, like, so with your like, with books or something where you've got this industry and, like, a machine that you can kinda, like yes, it's work to get the content ready and to get the publisher, but once you've got that thing, they can kinda put it into their machine, so to speak, and it goes out there, and they do that work for you, and they've got the networks and the places where they'll get your book, and, obviously, you gotta do some of your own work as well, but when you have your own thing, like the Pizza Quest podcast,
Yeah.
and, you're putting it out there yourself, and it's your own channel, and it's like, this could be the most amazing thing ever, or your own little pizza catering business. It's like, you gotta be able to reach those audiences, and that's where the marketing comes in play. So you've got, like, the branding and the content creation part that's coming up with the thing, and then the marketing, and advertising is, like, actually getting out there. And so one of the best things I think, I mean, in terms of, advice I'd have, and I don't know if you experience this as well, but having an audience you can already tap into is really key, because if you need to go out and find an audience and you're starting from 0, or just, like, your 10 or 20 or 50 friends and family,
Right.
and then you have to reach that next level of people, it's really a hard typically, it's a hard, really steep incline, mountain you're climbing, and then it
Yeah,
kinda, like, tapers out.
yeah, it's
But
the
if you can
first it's
start
the
off
first big hill and obstacle that you gotta
totally,
overcome,
like,
yeah.
reach those people. And so, one of the best things about this, which is one of the reasons why I thought it'd be a great idea, it's just one of the things to consider, I guess, when you're starting a business, again, is, like, that audience, and how can I start telling people who will care about this as quickly as possible, and as many as people as possible, is as we partner with Central Milling on it, they already had an audience. They already had
Yeah,
people that, were baking enthusiasts that were buying organic, really high quality flour, people that are looking and hungry for formulas and how do I do this, and asking questions about sourdough and bread making. And so the fact that we had an audience to start with to say,
yeah,
hey, you guys like baking? Do you want to, like, take it to the next level and do
that
this
makes
from the
sense.
comfort of your own home? Then this is great. And so that was one of the considerations that I had for saying, you know what, this has a pretty good chance of success, because I think it could have a chance of success if I just did it on my own. But then, man, I mean, I'd be just this random guy out there with a brand waving it
Right.
in the wind. So with you with Pizza Quest and some of these things, I mean, you were what was the order? You were a teacher already, and then somehow the cookbooks came along, and then
Well,
Pizza
yeah,
Quest. Like, what was the
exactly.
kind of order? And did you have an audience to kind of tap into to
Well,
tell the
been
audience
a
new excited?
culinary, educator at culinary schools, teaching bread making, and I started writing books about it. I'd always, been a writer as well, but I started public once I had the books, that again gave me a little bit of a bigger platform to reach people that way beyond the students who came to my classes, and then the books opened things up, and then, my Pizza Quest partners, Brad and Jeff, who are producers in the television world, are also foodies and loved the pizza book that I did, and so they approached me about, over 15 years ago now, with the
You guys are going
"Look,
on for so long.
let's turn this into something else. Let's turn it into a TV series," and that's how we launched Pizza Quest. And we have our early days were a lot of what we call webisodes, little mini video
Oh,
episodes of
okay,
us
gotcha.
going out there. We're out there with Tony Gemignani and Nancy Silverton, and anyone who watches Pizza Quest or goes to our website can go back and see all those early videos. And then COVID came along, and that kinda knocked us out of going on the road filming stuff, and
Yeah.
Zoom kind of appeared magically to make it possible for us to do these podcasts. And I went, "Hey, we can keep this going just from my desk here at home." So it was a process of, building, but like you said, you kinda have these springboards that help get you to a wider audience. And I think,
Mhm.
that's the challenge of anyone in marketing. I notice these days, and I'm very way behind the curve on things like Instagram and social media, but do you use social media as a way to promote these classes?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the primary way that people discover new content. Now, besides of even referrals from friends, of course, but this is not the kind of stuff that we're gonna put commercial on TV, let alone have the budget for. And so the nice thing about social media, when you think about Pinterest, like so many people are on Pinterest all the time getting recipes, and they're in a mentality of just getting something for free and looking at a pretty picture. But if you can say, you want to learn how to really make donuts, and then a class we launched last fall
A donut
with Nick
class.
Bagenstos. Yeah, yeah, he was on the World Baking Championship team with Nikki back
Oh,
in the
I
day.
remember forgetting. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and so he's taking those skills into the donut realm, huh?
Yeah, yeah, he went to career in donuts, and he works for a pastry shop now up in Seattle. But anyhow, the point is, lost my train of thought. He uh
Leveraging it and marketing.
leveraging oh yes, Instagram, okay, and social media. Um, we have these classes, and the ability to put them in front of people relatively cheaply. And oh yes, so in Pinterest, someone sees something and they're like, oh cool, I can actually make donuts. It's like something that I think you have to again understand your audience and know how to kind of say, hey, like you're looking at this, you're interested in this, but what about this? And so that's where the content and the ad content really you know, is key. But trial and error, and it's relatively cheap, and so you can put stuff out there and promote it. So Pinterest is huge, obviously, for like kind of baking stuff in general, more like Susie Home Baker recipes. But that's a really good audience there. And then of course you've got Meta, which is like Instagram and Facebook, and you've got people on there that are foodies and following various brands. And so yeah, I think tapping into that and just trying a lot of things. And I work with a digital advertising partner, and so we do paid stuff. We do organic content as well, of course, and launch new classes on there. But that's the easiest way to get content in front of people, and I think, and the cheapest as well. There's paid search as well, but yeah, a mix of all those things is probably the best. And then partnerships. I think partnerships is always another advice I'd have for anybody starting their own business, is try to come up with some interesting brand partnerships, because you have your audience and this other brand has their audience. And if you can tell each other about each other's brands, or tell each other's audiences about those brands, it's a really, really great way. Like, so, if you're in the caprese world and you've got a mozzarella brand and a basil or tomato brand or something, man, you tell each other about the
Yeah.
tomato guys tells, they hit their people about the mozzarella, and mozzarella people tell them about the tomatoes. And it's like, okay, it's a win-win. We're not trying to force like some random, like we're not trying to sell hammers and saws to the foodies. Like it's got to be a nice partnership. But that's a big way to get out there, I think, as well, is doing these kind of things, podcasts or interviews or little co-branded
Well,
promotions or giveaways. And
well,
that's a really great way.
you came to Central Milling already with a digital marketing background. Then you had the sort of the background in video work and communications and things like that. Plus a longtime friendship with yeah, the owner of Central Milling, Nicky Justo, and of course his uncle Keith Justo, who those of us in the flower world know as really important and wonderful people. So. You brought a piece to their situation and that fit for their needs, and they had the product, that you could build it on. It seems to me like you've almost and they as we're talking about this, and how do you try to create a new business, um, in the current marketing world that includes social media, that there could be an opportunity to do a whole class on that topic alone. It's not you instead of the content being about baking,
Excuse
it
me.
could be about
Yeah.
marketing. Have you thought about ever putting together kind of a, how to create a business 101 video of your own?
It's funny, yeah. It's definitely something that I could do. I guess it's back to that audience, who's my audience, where I could immediately start promoting this to.
How do you reach them? Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that when we first started ABC Online. The partner I had originally, there's so many partners upon partners, but the partner on my end, he was helping me with the video production. So I'm actually like in branding, marketing, graphic design. background, and so I don't really do the video myself. So I have a team of people that do the video filming. That's a whole nother world to get into. Um, I know how to kind of produce and talk and kind of creatively direct that. But
Uh-huh.
anyhow, I had this video partner originally I started with, and he was like, "We should do this, and then we should do our own class about how to do this." You know what I mean? It was like exactly what
Exactly.
you're saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, and so I think it's a great idea, and the cool thing about these things, like, so this, ABC Online is currently on the Teachable platform. There's some different platforms where you can, like, do your own content creator classes. So if you're a pizza maker or if you're a, entrepreneur and you wanna film yourself, even just kinda, like, with iPhones and whatever, and get this content up, there are some platforms that can make that pretty easy to do. Like, you don't have to do it at the scale that we're doing it with ABC Online. You can just have one class that's just about, like, I've got a buddy who his wife does like a, natural birthing class, and so she just offers this class for people, and they put it up online. It's on like a, I don't know if it's on Teachable, but it's on one of these platforms.
But it could be on
So
YouTube as well, right? I mean, that's how people use these mediums is to do
yeah,
one-offs that can sometimes turn into a whole series.
yeah, as long as you can monetize it somehow or get people to pay for that content so that all of your hard work and effort and whatever is getting paid for. But yeah, so I was actually interested. I was going to ask you a question about just entrepreneurial business. Like, how do you define success? Like, how do you define that Pizza Quest has been successful? I mean, there's a lot of different metrics. There's money, there's followers, there's views, there's, sales of books or whatever. But like, I mean, how do you in general define success for your businesses?
Yeah, that's a good question because we certainly it's certainly not through the money side of it. We have, I'm not brilliant at monetizing this. For me, it's all about the creative exercise and maybe when I hear this term that a lot of people throw around for internet stars, calling them influencers, is it's almost become a toxic word anymore these days. But
Yeah, right.
but really, I think there's something to the concept of having influence and having influence, whether you ever make money from having influence, but by having the credibility of
Mm.
having your opinion be valuable to people. So I think that has been for us the best sign of success of Pizza Quest is that people value what we do here and the followers that we have, and they're not in the millions, but we've got a substantial number of followers who listen to us and watch us on the video or the audio only versions of our podcast. They look forward to it because it provides some kind of, you know, content satisfaction for them based on
Yeah.
sharing these experiences. So so one of these days we'll figure out how you monetize it. I think it comes down to everyone I've talked to says, how do you do it is you build your numbers up so that you become valuable to advertisers. Well, that's part of the game. And I would that's where I'd turn to someone like you and say, how do you build the numbers up? Because that's not my forte. But I think that's the game. But for me, the satisfaction comes from the fact that that we seem to mean something to people. People value our opinions and the information that we bring to them through these interesting conversations we have with a lot of interesting people. And really, for me, it's always been one of the things that I enjoy doing is meeting interesting people and sharing, you know, what they know and their life experience with others.
Yeah. I think that's a key difference there is like we're in but even you more so is you're in the knowledge, content, education space. And I think, I would look at success in that space differently than selling widgets, or selling a product that's a disposable product. Like, so I think that definitely engagement and, like you said, kind of credibility, like influencing for good. Like there's influencing for just selling stuff. Like I'm a guy that has, 200,000 followers or a million followers, and I partner with brands to sell them to sell my followers things, hey, check out this new AirPods case. You remember, it's like, get it now on Amazon. It's like, okay, that's a
My
different
new
kind of
super
influence.
phone.
Yeah, the super phone case. But influencing for good and influencing knowledge and influencing and sharing stories so that people's stories and authentic content is getting out there in a way that it wouldn't otherwise. I think that's really like I would measure success by um engagement and having people, like you said, come to you and say, I appreciate what you do, or hey, what you guys have been doing for so long is so amazing. Can you come do that for me? Or I want you to come interview me. It's like because you become that go-to person for really good, solid, engaging storytelling, real content. There's so much fluff content out there, you know? So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
cool.
really our product is, is quality engagement. It's not we're not selling pizzas. I'm not in the pizza business anymore. I consult to the pizza world because of my background in doughs, but but I don't operate pizzerias. I just, my product is just ideas and you know I guess relationship. We're in the relationship business. But we and that's a cool thing about like when Zoom came along and other platforms like Zoom that made it affordable and easy to do something like this where you don't have to have a lot of equipment to create a podcast or a video podcast. You could do YouTubes and all these incredible mediums that have emerged in the last years that have democratized the
Yeah.
ability for people to get out there, and some of them have figured out how to play the game to make money, but many people just do it because it's fulfilling in its own right to create something that other people like.
Right. Yep.
So you've been growing yours. Now been up and running for about 3 years now, 4 years since from idea to conception. You mentioned, earlier, we talked briefly about a upcoming class on bagels. Can we just get back into some of the other classes? You said donuts, so I was
Yeah.
keep the donut class is already out there, right? Because
Yeah.
I remember when Jacob was on the United States baking team, that went to the Coupe du Monde, so he's got you bring in people with real credibility already who are doing stuff that people wanna know.
Yeah.
And what about this bagel class?
Yeah, well, so we a couple classes that we have on the we're trying to we have a bagel class. So there's this really awesome brand of bagels called Boy Chick Bagels. They're in the Bay Area
Oh,
also.
yeah, I've had them, they're great.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So she grew up Emily, the owner, grew up in Brooklyn or over in New York somewhere. And they, she has the whole story of going into like Zabar's and getting bagels with her dad on Sundays or Saturdays. It's been a while since we spoke. We're actually getting it back up and running
Yeah.
this class. And so anyway, she's got a great story and she couldn't find a decent bagel that met her criteria for what a real New York style bagel was in the Bay Area. And so she was like, I guess I'm starting my own business.
I met Emily at Pizza Expo of all places. She was at
Oh,
Pizza
cool.
Expo a few years ago, and we went to an event together, and we hung out for a little bit, and
Oh,
she
fun.
told me about this story, so I'm glad that she's now part of the, ABC Online family.
Yeah, yeah. So we had planned to do her class last year and we had some shift some things around. And so we're gonna get that one back up and running. I think bagels is just such a fun thing. I grew up eating bagels. Um and shout out to oh no, never mind. Never mind the shout out. I can like remember vividly the bagel place in Davis that I grew up going to, and I can't
Oh,
think what it's
yeah.
called. It's not Noah's Bagels, because that's where I worked when I was in college. See, my bagel
See,
quest continues.
you worked at Noah's Bagel, so that's an interesting story in its own right, the
I know. Yeah, I have a weird baking story where it's like my very first job ever was work like when I was 14. I was working for a company called Davis Bread and Desserts, and they were like a bakery in Davis, California. And I was doing like farmers markets and scrubbing tables and slicing bread, and didn't actually do any baking really there. I was just more kind of involved in this bakery. And then yeah, I worked at Noah's Bagels, and then went off into graphic design. Now I came back to working with central milling and baking. It's funny how it works out that way.
you
But
can't escape your destiny, man.
I can't, yeah. Yes, anyways, we got bagels coming up, which is gonna be really cool. Hopefully we'll film that over the summer. And then we're actually I'm trying to convince Nikki to do a kind of an intermediate sourdough breads class. It's been a really hard thing because we did this really great kind of basic beginners. Like there's so much to sourdough and just getting started when you're first getting started, right? And it's like from there, then it's like even more crazy the concepts you can get into, and you don't want to overwhelm people in the beginning. So we have this really great beginning sourdough class, but then we've always wanted to have kind of like the next level past that. Not necessarily this crazy advanced sourdough class where it's like going to lose people, but we wanted to have something. So we're working on that, and he's taken a hard look at that because it's been hard for him to find a baker that he feels like he would be happy with doing that class. Other baking educators who are
Who did the 101, intro class?
it's actually she was an Instagram influencer. This is funny enough, but Instagram kind of slash blogger named Hannah De La Cruz, and she has a whole sourdough blog and a whole sourdough channel. And so she's one of those folks that isn't like a traditional baker, but she worked really closely with Nikki on the content to make sure everything was dialed in really good, and again, had that kind of like baker stamp of approval on it. So, um, but yeah, he wanted to really make sure we had like a kind of baking culinary educator type person, like a Cyril Hitz or this kind of
Yeah.
you know, real like, or even like a you. But we've already used you for a class. So we're looking for someone like that that could do this
Yeah.
intermediate. And so Nikki's like, what if I just do it? I'm like, okay, well, you're a busy guy, but
Well, there you go.
it'd be amazing
It'd
if
be
you.
great. And you also haven't you done a class with Michael Calante? Is he on? Do you have a video to
Yes.
it? So
Yeah,
Michael's
Calante.
again a Bay Area local educator, baker
Hmm.
and it's also
He was on
on timer.
Craftsy. Speaking of Craftsy, back in the day, he had some
Yeah,
classes on there. And
that's right.
yeah, yeah, we did a focaccia class with him, which is a fantastic class. It's really, really good because he's just such an animated, exciting teacher, and he did this whole journey through the land of through Italy and talked about these different styles, regional styles of focaccia, and that's a great class too. So yeah, we've got him on there already as well.
Again.
So yeah, so
Well,
those are things that are upcoming. We're excited about, but I wanted to also just mention, because I know we're getting close to time here, but we have this podcast should come out in the middle of May,
right.
towards the end of May, middle end of May. We've got some things coming up. We got our Central Milling and Artisan Baking Center online. We do a spring sale every year. It's usually sometime after Mother's Day. So this year it's going to be like 14th through the 19th. There's just some deals in general on Central Milling and Artisan Baking Center online. And then we're doing a really exciting, more pizza specific promo. We're doing a make pizza giveaway. We're still kind of dialing the details there, but there's going to be a Gosney pizza oven that's part of that is the giveaway.
Wow.
There's going to be a bunch of Central Milling flour, our custom Headley and Bennett apron that we have, Central Milling apron, the bundle of all the pizza classes that we offer, maybe even a really amazing opportunity for someone to go to a pizza uh like university series that Central Milling sponsored this year. So I don't want to talk too much about that, but that's a potential might be part of this giveaway.
But if they want to learn about it, just get over to the website then, right? Go to
Yeah.
what
So for
what
those things, the best way is
yeah.
to uh either follow either of those brands, Artisan Baking Center or Central Milling, on Instagram or Facebook. We always publish when we have like sales or giveaways or promotions there. And then of course the email list, you can sign up for the email list on either artisanbakingcenter.com and check out all the classes there. And or you can sign up for the Central Milling email list at centralmilling.com. They're kind of a shared audience, and you can choose what you want to hear about. If you only care about flour, or you only care about baking classes and that kind of thing. So you can sort of segment what you kind of information you get, but it's still like a shared email list. So email or social media is the best way to kind of stay in the loop. But I also wanted to offer anybody here who's on this podcast and more of like your followers, just like at any time through the end of the summer, if they want to grab a class, Artisan Baking Center online, especially one of the pizza classes, but any of them really, we'll do like a 40% off your first class with coupon PQ40. So that's just PQ as in
Oh,
Pizza
for
Quest
Pizza
and
Quest.
for
Yeah, all right. So let's
yeah,
repeat that again. That's big news. That's actually a great
yeah,
deal. 40% off
surprise.
is awesome. So yeah, thank you. I'm hearing about this now for the first time. Thank you for doing that. So PQ40, did you
40.
say?
Yeah.
PQ40. That's the code. That's the discount code
Yeah,
they get.
PQ40. So not 40 spelled out, but just
40.
4 letters, PQ. We'll probably put it in the description, I imagine, for the podcast as well. But yeah, it's just, I want people to try these classes out. And since we've already paid for them, they're up and running. It's like, I don't mind throwing a good discount on them, especially if someone's going to, again, we're talking about sharing the love, sharing the knowledge. Obviously it is a business. We're trying to make some money, but if we do if anybody wants to try out one of these pizza classes, especially your class or whatever, yeah, PQ40, and then 40% off your first class. And that's going to be better than what you can get on the spring sale or any of the normal kind of promotions. So
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And those of you who are listening or watching, PQ40 for, I guess that stands for 40% off. Right. So that's a
yeah.
pretty big discount. So just to give them an idea, like typically what would a class be at full price? And then they can factor in what that discount might save them.
Yeah, yeah. So classes we've tried to keep like under $100. So most of them are sort of like 49 to 69 range, somewhere in that kind of mid zone. Yours is 89, Tony's is 99. He has some licensing agreement stuff we had to cover. So it's the most expensive class. Everything else is
Tony's always the most expensive. People are willing to
of
pay for
course.
Tony. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So we're trying to keep them all kind of, like I said, in the mid tens of dollars. So some of them, there's a couple that are 39 that are a little bit shorter, a little more simple content wise. But anyways, yeah. So, 40% off, you could get a class for anywhere from like, I don't know, 20, $30 to maybe 40 bucks or so. It's
Yeah.
definitely a reasonable thing, to buy and check it out and learn how to make some awesome breads or pizzas or pastry lamination or cookies. Or we have an awesome pasta class, hand rolled pasta from southern Italy. That's a really great fun class as well. Get together a bunch of people and roll a bunch of different pasta shapes and make
Yeah.
pasta. It's
Yeah.
super fun. So yeah, we got some really good classes on there, so definitely check it out
Yeah.
and buy
And
Peter's class because then he gets a cut.
well,
Oh, cut.
and I appreciate that, but more importantly is for people to be able to see it. Can if they go to the website, if they go to like, is there like a ABC on .com online.com or
Yeah, it's Artisan Baking Center.
artisanbakingcenter.com, then can they also see if they're just, again, like people who are on the cusp of buying a Gosney, can they get a sample snippet of what it's like if they go there and see like a couple seconds of what
Yeah.
one of the
Oh,
best.
totally. Yeah. So every class, we really try to make it as like help people understand what the class is all about. Because it is a little bit of a learning curve. Like, what is this class and how do you take it and what's it going to be like? So every class has a little like promo video, or you can kind of get a taste of the class. But then on the class sales page, like yours, for example, if you scroll down and you can kind of see some stuff about the class, you can actually see every single lesson that the class includes, how long each one is, and then we have a few of those kind of key lessons where there's a preview. So we always let people view the entire video about like the baking tools that they're going to need, because that's a big hurdle, right? It's like, okay,
Yep.
what am I needing to take this class? Do I have to buy like a freaking pizza oven, or do I just need like a lom and a few things? Okay, I've already got that. So we always have that one as a free preview, and then yeah, there's usually just a couple lessons in there that will be free, just so people can kind of get a sense of the teacher. Do I like the style? Do I what does this content look like? And so yeah, people can get previews of the whole thing, not the whole thing, but of a good amount of it on those class pages too. So yeah, lots of consideration, purchase consideration. That's one of the things with this product, in terms of marketing. There's a lot of purchase consideration. It's not like oh, I see that, I understand what it is, I'm just gonna click and buy it. There's a lot of that kind of stuff where like a Stanley mug, or these, this crazy Stanley mug phenomenon that happened in the last few years, where it's like, people just are like, yep, it makes my drinks cold. It fits in the cup holder. I'm going to click and buy it. And it's like, you just buy it. And it's like $30. And it's like, but this is like, well, what is it? It's an online class. What does that mean? Is it a Zoom class? Is it how do I consume this content? What do I need to take the class? So we've really tried to help people understand what it means to buy one of these classes. And so that's why I think just the whole process of purchasing is a little bit slower. It's a little bit longer process for people. But hopefully we've explained it to them and they're just ready to go.
Yeah. And I also will wait for the day when you decide to go ahead and do the how I did this video
Yeah.
clips, and then we'll get you on NPR on Guy Raz's show or something. How I built this. Um,
About this, yeah.
but that'd be really cool. So Kyle, thank you so much for coming on, for sharing all that.
Yeah.
Thank you for making that discount available to our followers. So please take advantage of that, folks. And Kyle, we'll stay in touch, and keep us apprised. Anyone who wants to see what's coming, what new offerings are coming, or go back and see what's already up there on the site, go to artisanbakingcenter.com. That's the probably the best gateway in, or just do a search and you'll get
Mhm.
there and you'll be able to catch up on all this stuff.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's how
Sounds good.
success, Kyle. Thank you so much. Thanks for
Thanks so much for having me on again.
do. And yeah, we'll look forward to getting you back, and when the next generation of content is coming out there, and let people know what's available. And
Yep. Sounds good.
and thank all of you for joining us today on Pizza Quest. We'd love to have you. We exist both as an audio version only via the Heritage Radio Network, and also on our website at www.pizzaquest.com, and on YouTube. So there's lots of ways to access us. And if you access us, then you can access artisanbakingcenter.com as well. Kyle, have a great rest of the week. All the rest of you, please, we'll see you at the next episode of Pizza Quest. Bye bye.
Later, Pizza Questers.